can show you from a practical point of view how to like create a story, how to run a creative writing session within a classroom, how you can get the best from your children. Now, we're going to look at a story, what a story needs to have in it, how you can plot a planned story, and 2 or 3 more practical techniques that use phonics. You're allowed to talk to me, by the way. You're all looking very scared, honestly. Well, the whole idea is that you go away with 3 or 4 things that you can use in your classroom. So how are we supposed to teach children how to write stories when we don't feel confident about writing stories ourselves? We ask children to play with sand, we ask them to play with clay, we ask them to play with building blocks, but we never say to them, let's play with words, without having a function. There's always this thing of, we must have a piece of paper at the end. Don't worry, okay? I'm not here sort of talking about things that you won't have some evidence from, but I will show you the basis of a story, and through this I will show you how you introduce it to children. Everybody show me 5 fingers, do it now. I'm not here to sort of insult your intelligence in this way, okay? I've got lots of other ways of insulting your intelligence later. But the idea is, when you're working with a group, you say, show me 5 fingers. There are 5 questions, and people are very nosy. Do it now. People are very? Nosy. They are nosy. And they want to know the answers to 5 questions. Those questions all start with a W and an H. You'll have heard of the phrase, the mantle of the expert. Yes, it gets bandied around all of the time. There is another one, which I think is much better for children to understand. It's called the mantle of the fool. And you pretend that you don't know what the answer is, or you deliberately get things wrong. What does it tell you about the children? If they're correcting you, they've listened and they've retained. It's a bit like that thing in Jack and the Beanstalk. You know, if he had like long green greasy hair, terrible yellow teeth and fingernails like spoons, and then the next time you describe him you wind up saying he had brown hair. No, he didn't have brown hair. And you're getting them to participate, because story writing and storytelling should be done with somebody. Okay, so this is how you do it. Why do I keep asking these questions, you? Why? Why, exactly. How does a child who is frightened of writing feel when you have basically, I'm not talking about you by the way, when you've laid it on a plate and they have put their hand up with an obvious answer and they gain confidence? They're seeing writing as something that can be fun and that they can take part in. I've got to tell you that a lot of the time with children, saying to them, write a story. I've heard teachers say this, you've got some great ideas, but you can't write them down. So you might as well say, so if you have it, that they can join in orally, they can take part, and you do this as a group activity. Are you all quite happy so far? Yes, does it sound like I know what I'm talking about? It's just an illusion. Okay, so 5 questions. Who, where, what, why, and when. And I've got to tell you, with children who find writing hard, that is as far as you go. Key stage 2, you're starting to get a bit more involved. I'll go through each of these and show you how you explain them. But your job as an author, what am I doing when I say that to children? Your job as an author, I am honouring what they're about to do. I'm saying to them, you've got a job, you are now an author. Even if they only write once upon a time, they feel that they can take part. But with more able children, especially around, say, like later year 4, year 5 definitely, but year 6 absolutely, is your job as an author is to tell people how. With year 3, there's no reason why you cannot put this up on the board. They are very tentative about putting the hand up. They'll quite often say describing words. The teachers throw their hands up in horror. They're frightened. They're frightened of writing. How it can be described using adjectives. Well, I think a lot of children have forgotten, and a lot of adults too, forgotten what adjectives do. I was working in Scotland. By the way, this is not going to be a whole string of anecdotes. It's about something that's relevant. I said to this girl, I said, why do we use lots of adjectives? Because I'll say to a group of children, I'll say, what's a story need? And they'll say, capital letters, full stops, underlining, phonemes, homonyms, metaphors, similes. I said, anything like a hero? Something similar. We're kind of like semi-obsessed with pushing the parts of English at them without making the content the greater part of it. I wouldn't spend as much time with the children talking like this. It's just 5 questions. Okay? How it can be described in adjectives? Well, this is what an adjective does, and you do it in this way. Try it. All of these things, I've made a career out of this. Sweeter than honey. Open your eyes. Did that paint a picture? Yes? That's what adjectives do. And children forget. There's something else. It's this. Have you ever come across that? Do it. What else do you need to put into a story? At the back there.
Feelings?
You do. Feelings. Again, what I'll do is I'll do this in its basic form. Happy, sad, mad, bad, glad, dangerous, all of those things, how people are feeling. What you've got to show them is, when you're telling them stories, you have to do a thing, over-egg the pudding. If you do a description, it has 4 adjectives to it. It has 3 adjectives to it. So when they come to recall the story, they're going to remember 2, whereas previously they might have remembered 1. Does that make sense? Yes? 5 senses. Last thing that everything needs, talk. Teachers are always very fond of talking stories. And when it gets up to about year 4, well, when they were in reception, they would say, okay, it's not how it was said, it's how the voice sounds. His voice was high, thin and reedy. His voice was filled with fear. His voice echoed in that empty place. It's not really that many more words. What is it that children are frightened of? The teacher's going to say, you're going to have to rewrite that. You're going to have to redraft that. And they see that as having to make it longer. And it doesn't always turn out that way. It turns out that it becomes better. Now you've got 5 questions and 5 answers. The children have got it at the fingertip.